In 2024, grocery prices skyrocketed by 21%, and over 140 essential food items faced shortages. But what's coming in 2025 could be even worse. Major food suppliers and grocery chains are making quiet but drastic changes that could impact the availability, quality, and even safety of the food you buy every day. And while most people assume the biggest threats to our food supply come from inflation or supply chain disruptions, the truth is far more alarming.
This morning, new concerns over potential listeria contamination, with millions of pounds of ready to eat meat, chicken, and turkey pulled from major grocers nationwide after federal safety testing found the bacteria in some foods from Bruce Pack.
As you just saw, the media is starting to pick up on these food shortages. But what they're not telling you is how deep this actually goes. Foods that have been dietary staples for centuries are being phased out, reformulated, or quietly pulled from shelves. And if you're not paying attention, you might not even notice until it's too late. That's why my team analyzed industry reports, supply chain data, and insider sources to uncover the 7 essential foods the government and major food corporations are quietly making harder to find. And what we found? Some of these foods are already 80% out of stock in major retailers, and one of them is being strategically removed from grocery shelves nationwide. Stay with me because over the next few minutes, I'll break down exactly what's disappearing, why it's happening, and most importantly, what you need to do now before these foods vanish completely. And trust me, by the time we get to number 6, you'll realize just how much control corporations have over what ends up on your plate. Let's start with a supermarket that might seem like a great deal at first glance. But if you care about quality, freshness, and what you're really eating, you'll want to think twice before buying meat here. Most people assume lower prices just mean better deals. But what if I told you that in some cases, you could actually be paying more for less? I came across a shopper who picked up a package of chicken from Lidl, thinking they'd scored a great deal, only to open it at home and be hit with a strong, sour smell. And they're not alone. Customers across the country have reported similar concerns, from meat that spoils days before the sell-by date to packaging that leaks in their fridge. So what's really going on? Here's something most people don't realize. Lidl's budget-friendly prices come at a cost, and that cost is often freshness and quality. Unlike premium supermarkets that work with high-quality suppliers, Lidl's meat undergoes bulk processing at massive distribution centers before ever reaching store shelves. That means longer transportation times, heavier preservatives, and major inconsistencies in the meat you bring home. And here's the real kicker. Industry insiders claim that some discount grocery chains use vacuum-sealed packaging and even carbon monoxide treatment to make meat appear fresher than it actually is. That means what looks like a bright red steak might have been sitting around much longer than you think. So what can you do? If Lidl is your go-to grocery store, be extra cautious. Always double-check expiration dates, inspect the packaging carefully, and consider freezing meat immediately to preserve its quality. And if you really want to avoid any risks, paying just a little more for higher quality meat elsewhere might be the smarter choice in the long run. If Lidl's meat department is raising eyebrows, Meijer's issues run even deeper. Because while it might look like a solid choice on the surface, what's happening behind the scenes is even more alarming. Last summer, a small butcher shop owner I know started noticing something strange. Customers kept coming in, frustrated, looking for better quality meat after having issues with what they bought at Meijer. Some mentioned meat that looked fresh in the store but spoiled within days. Others complained about odd textures, excessive liquid pooling in the packaging, or an unexpected lack of flavor. At first, he thought it was just a few isolated cases. But as more customers shared similar experiences, he started digging into why Meijer's meat quality seemed so unpredictable. What he found was troubling. Unlike higher-end grocery chains that are committed to ethical sourcing and transparency, Meijer sources much of its meat from massive industrial farms with minimal oversight. A recent industry report even ranked Meijer lower than many of its competitors when it comes to ethical and sustainable sourcing practices. That means if you're buying meat here, you have little way of knowing how it was raised, processed, or how long it's been sitting in storage before hitting the shelves. And here's something most people don't realize. Some of Meijer's suppliers have been flagged for questionable farming practices, yet the products still end up in stores nationwide. That means you could be buying meat from sources that don't meet the quality standards you'd expect from a major supermarket. Now, I get it. When you're in a rush, convenience matters. But if you care about quality, there are much better alternatives. Pro tip: if Meijer is your only option, opt for their USDA Choice or organic selections, as these have better oversight. And if you want to guarantee fresher, better sourced meat, check out local butcher shops or farmers markets where you can ask questions and get meat that hasn't been sitting in a warehouse for weeks. Because when it comes to fresh, high quality meat, knowing what you're buying makes all the difference. And the next store on this list? This one might surprise you because it's a household name, famous for bulk savings and big deals. But when it comes to their meat department, what's happening behind the scenes is frustrating loyal customers so much that many are taking their business elsewhere. Let's talk about BJ's. They're known for bulk savings and massive deals, but when it comes to their meat department, things aren't as great as they seem. Most people assume buying in bulk means saving money while ensuring a stocked freezer. But what if I told you that shoppers are running into major problems that could make those bulk meat purchases a costly mistake? One issue that keeps coming up? Packaging failures. Imagine coming home with a bulk pack of steaks, only to open your fridge later and find a pool of leaked juices contaminating everything inside. That's exactly what happened to one shopper I spoke with, and they're far from alone. Reports of torn packaging, weak vacuum seals, and even freezer burn on supposedly fresh cuts have been piling up. And here's what most people don't realize. Meat at bulk stores like BJ's is often prepackaged in massive quantities at central distribution centers, which means by the time it hits store shelves, it's already been sitting for longer than you think. That can lead to inconsistencies in quality, with some cuts staying fresh while others deteriorate much faster. Then there's the unpredictability. BJ's might have a great selection one week, but come back the next, and you could find empty shelves or nothing but lower quality cuts left behind. And according to recent supply chain reports, warehouse clubs have struggled to keep up with consistent inventory, leading to frequent stockouts and inconsistent freshness. That means if BJ's is your main source for meat, you might be taking a gamble on what's actually available. So what's the workaround? If you're shopping at BJ's, always inspect the packaging before purchasing. If you see any loose seals or leaking trays, skip it. And don't rely on the store's packaging alone. Transferring bulk meat into airtight freezer bags or vacuum-sealed containers at home can make a huge difference in preventing spoilage. But most importantly, have a backup plan. If BJ's is running low or their quality isn't cutting it, knowing a local butcher or another reliable grocery store could save you from a frustrating trip. But even if you manage to find properly sealed, high-quality meat at BJ's, there's another problem lurking at a major grocery chain. One that's not just about freshness, but about something even more concerning: transparency. If you're someone who cares about where your food comes from, the next store on this list might leave you with more questions than answers. At first glance, Safeway's meat department looks fine. You walk in, see the neatly arranged packages, and assume you're getting a decent selection. But look a little closer, and you'll notice a glaring issue: transparency. Unlike some competitors that proudly display where their meat is sourced, how it's raised, or whether it meets ethical and sustainability standards, Safeway keeps things frustratingly vague. One shopper I spoke with used to buy their weekly meat at Safeway without a second thought, until they started noticing inconsistencies. One week, the steaks looked fresh and well marbled. The next, the same cut was dull, dry, and unappetizing. And that wasn't the only issue. They also realized that many packages didn't list key details. Was the beef grass-fed? Were the chickens raised without antibiotics? These are things more and more consumers care about, yet Safeway seems to leave shoppers in the dark. And it's not just about missing labels. Industry reports suggest that some of Safeway's suppliers rely on large-scale industrial farms, where animal welfare standards are questionable at best. This might not matter to everyone, but if you're paying premium prices, wouldn't you want to know exactly what you're getting? Another drawback? The selection itself. Unlike other stores that offer a variety of cuts, Safeway tends to stick to the basics. So if you're looking for specialty meats or a custom cut option, you might be out of luck. So what can you do? First, check the labels. If there's little information, that's a red flag. Second, if Safeway is your only option, stick to their USDA choice or organic selections, which are more likely to have better oversight. And finally, consider heading to a local butcher or farmer's market where you can ask direct questions about where your meat comes from. Because when it comes to what you're putting on your plate, transparency matters. But Safeway isn't the only store where quality is hit or miss. Now, if you like consistency when buying meat, Giant might leave you frustrated. One week, you might find a beautiful, well-marbled ribeye at a decent price, and the next, the same section is half empty, with only a few unappealing cuts left. This unpredictability is something many shoppers have noticed, making Giant an unreliable option for anyone who likes to plan their meals ahead or stock up on specific cuts. One shopper I spoke with mentioned that they went to Giant 3 times in one week just to find fresh chicken breasts, only to be met with empty shelves or products that looked past their prime. And the inconsistency isn't just about availability, it's also about quality. Some customers report finding fresh, high-quality cuts one visit, only to return and find meat that looks discolored or close to expiration the next. But this isn't just anecdotal. Industry reviews highlight that Giant's supply chain struggles to keep up with demand in certain regions, leading to stock fluctuations and inconsistent freshness. Unlike high-end grocery stores that maintain steady relationships with premium suppliers, Giant's meat sourcing appears to be more variable, which could explain the unpredictable swings in quality. So what's the workaround? If you shop at Giant, always check the sell-by dates and inspect the meat closely before buying. If you're looking for something specific, calling ahead to ask about inventory could save you a wasted trip. And if you need reliable, high-quality cuts on a regular basis, consider stores with better sourcing practices, or even a local butcher who can guarantee consistency. Because when it comes to putting good food on the table, rolling the dice on quality isn't worth the risk. You're going to want to pay extra attention to this next one because it has a reputation that's caught a lot of shoppers off guard. If you've ever bought meat there, you might have noticed something that didn't seem quite right. But what's really happening behind the scenes is even worse than most people realize. And now we've reached number 6. One of the biggest names in the grocery industry, but also one of the most frustrating when it comes to buying fresh meat. If you've ever felt like something seemed off about the meat section at ShopRite, you're not alone. Here's what's really going on behind the scenes. If you've ever walked into a ShopRite during peak hours, you know exactly what I'm about to say. The aisles are packed, the checkout lines stretch halfway through the store, and good luck finding an employee who isn't already swamped with customers. But here's the real issue. This chaos isn't just frustrating, it's part of a much bigger problem. The way major grocery chains like ShopRite operate gives them complete control over what ends up on your plate, and most shoppers have no idea how much of their food choices are being dictated for them. Because here's what's really happening behind the scenes. When stores cut costs, reduce staff, and prioritize mass distribution over quality, it's you, the consumer, who pays the price. With fewer employees available to manage inventory and inspect shipments properly, customers have reported finding meat that's close to expiration, poorly packaged, or even mislabeled. And when you're in a rush, it's easy to overlook these issues until you get home and realize you've paid premium prices for a cut that's barely fresh. A report from the USDA highlights that improper storage and handling are some of the leading causes of premature meat spoilage. And with high turnover rates in large grocery chains like ShopRite, consistency and quality control is becoming a major concern. But here's the worst part. This isn't just an accident. Many of these chains know exactly what's happening, but as long as the shelves stay stocked and sales keep rolling in, they have no incentive to change. That's why consumers need to be more aware than ever. So what's the best way to protect yourself? First, always check the packaging carefully before buying. If you see excess liquid in the tray, that's a red flag that the meat could be nearing its expiration date. Second, visit early in the morning when staff restocks the shelves, giving you the best chance at finding fresh cuts. And if you're looking for a real workaround, consider switching to local butcher shops for specialty meats. They might be slightly pricier, but the difference in quality is night and day. Now that we've exposed the supermarkets where quality is slipping, let's shift gears and talk about the stores that are actually doing it right. Because while some supermarkets cut corners and put profits over freshness, there are a few that truly prioritize quality, transparency, and customer service. And first on that list, Publix, where the difference isn't just in the meat, but in the entire shopping experience. If you've ever been frustrated by inconsistent meat quality, Publix might just change the way you shop. Most people assume that supermarket meat is all the same. But what if I told you that Publix operates differently, offering not just better cuts, but an entirely better experience? Unlike many chains that rely on pre-packaged, mass-produced cuts that sit on shelves for days, Publix takes a hands-on approach. They have in-house butchers who cut fresh meat daily, ensuring that every steak, roast, and chicken breast is at peak quality when it reaches your cart. That means no mystery cuts, no questionable packaging, and no surprises when you unwrap your purchase at home. Just fresh, high-quality meat every time. But it's not just about freshness, it's also about choice. Publix offers a wide selection, including USDA choice beef, organic poultry, and antibiotic-free options, making it one of the best mainstream grocers for shoppers who care about sourcing. And here's something most people don't realize. Unlike other supermarkets where customer service is an afterthought, Publix employees are trained to provide hands-on guidance. Need a specific cut? Want advice on how to cook that ribeye to perfection? The Publix butcher counter isn't just a place to grab meat. It's a resource where staff are ready to help with custom orders, recommendations, and even meal prep advice. And here's a little-known insider tip. Publix frequently runs specials on premium cuts, meaning you can often get high-quality meats at prices that rival discount stores. If you time it right, you could be stocking your freezer with top-tier steaks at a fraction of what you'd pay elsewhere. But if you think Publix sets the bar high, wait until you hear about the next store on our list. It's a place where both quality and affordability meet in a way that's hard to beat, and it just might change the way you shop for meat forever. If you're serious about quality meat, Harris Teeter is a name you need to know. While many grocery stores treat their meat department as just another aisle, Harris Teeter goes above and beyond, offering a premium selection that rivals high-end butcher shops. What sets them apart? Let's start with their USDA-certified very tender beef, a designation that means their cuts meet the highest standards for tenderness and flavor. This isn't just about marketing. This certification comes from rigorous testing that guarantees a superior eating experience. If you've ever been disappointed by a tough, chewy steak from another grocery store, you'll notice the difference immediately. But it's not just about quality, it's about service. Harris Teeter is one of the few major supermarket chains that still believes in having skilled butchers on site. That means you're not stuck picking from whatever happens to be prepackaged on the shelf. Need a specific cut for a recipe? Want a thicker steak or a special grind of beef? The butchers here are trained to handle custom requests, ensuring that you get exactly what you need. And if you're not sure what to buy, their staff is more than happy to offer expert recommendations, whether it's the best cut for slow cooking or the perfect steak for grilling. Another thing that makes Harris Teeter stand out is their selection of premium meats, including organic, grass-fed, and dry-aged options. Unlike stores that only offer one or two high-quality choices, Harris Teeter gives you real variety, so you can choose based on your budget and taste preferences. And here's something most people don't realize. Harris Teeter regularly runs deals on their best cuts, meaning you can get restaurant-quality meat at prices that are surprisingly competitive. If you time it right, you can stock your freezer with top-tier steaks for the same price you'd pay for lower-quality meat at other chains. Harris Teeter sets a high bar for quality meat, but if you're looking for a store that combines tradition, freshness, and ethical sourcing, then you'll want to hear about this next one. It's a supermarket that has been quietly serving its community for decades, with a reputation for consistently delivering top-tier cuts of meat. Whether you're searching for USDA choice beef or antibiotic-free options, this store makes sure you're getting meat that's fresh, responsibly sourced, and well worth your money. Let's take a closer look at why King Kullen has earned a spot on this list. If you're in the Long Island area and care about where your meat comes from, King Kullen might just be the best-kept secret you haven't been taking advantage of. Unlike many grocery chains that rely on mass-produced meats with questionable sourcing, King Cullen is committed to providing USDA choice beef and a variety of antibiotic-free options. That means the steaks, chicken, and pork you buy here aren't just fresh. They're raised under higher quality standards, ensuring you get better flavor and a healthier product. But here's what most people don't realize. King Cullen sources much of its meat from regional farms, cutting down on the time it spends in transit and preserving peak freshness. That's a major advantage, especially when you compare it to larger chains that ship their meat across the country, leading to inconsistencies in quality. A local butcher I spoke to put it simply: the less distance your meat travels before it reaches your fridge, the better it's going to taste. Now, here's a tip most shoppers overlook. If you want the best deals on high-quality cuts, visit King Cullen's butcher counter in the morning when fresh deliveries arrive. Their team is known for being accommodating, so don't hesitate to ask for custom cuts or recommendations. And if you're planning to stock up, take advantage of their bulk buy discounts on select meats, which can save you a surprising amount over time. By the way, if you want to stay prepared during these troubling times, make sure to check out the must-watch playlist. It's packed with crucial updates on food shortages, hidden grocery store tactics, and how to protect yourself from rising prices. But back to the video. If you thought King Cullen was impressive, the next store on our list takes things even further with a commitment to quality that makes it stand out, even among premium supermarkets. Let's talk about Weaver Street Market. It isn't just another grocery store, it's a cooperative, which means it's built around supporting local farmers and ensuring customers get the freshest, most ethically sourced meat possible. Unlike big box chains that rely on massive processing plants and long-distance shipping, Weaver Street Market prioritizes locally raised, pasture-fed meats that haven't been sitting in warehouses for weeks before hitting the shelves. And here's something most people don't realize. Buying locally sourced meat isn't just about better flavor, it's about food security. With supply chain disruptions becoming more frequent, having a reliable source of fresh, high-quality meat from nearby farms is more important than ever. According to USDA data, small-scale farms have been hit hardest by rising costs, making it even more critical to support stores that work directly with independent farmers. Weaver Street Market does exactly that, offering pasture-raised beef, heritage pork, and free-range poultry, all without the mystery of big processing plants. Want to get the best deals? Here's a pro tip. Weaver Street Market often has discounts on bulk meat purchases, and their butchers are more than happy to recommend cost-effective cuts that deliver premium quality at a lower price. If you're planning to stock up, check for their seasonal specials. Many local farms offer exclusive deals through the co-op that you won't find anywhere else. And if you thought Weaver Street Market was a hidden gem, wait until you hear about this one. If you're looking for a grocery store that treats meat selection like an art form, the Fresh Market should be at the top of your list. Unlike big box supermarkets that focus on volume over quality, the Fresh Market takes a more curated approach, ensuring that every cut of meat meets high standards for freshness, texture, and taste. And here's where they really stand out. While most grocery stores simply stock meat, the Fresh Market hand selects it. Their in-house butchers don't just unload pre-packaged shipments, they cut fresh meat daily, which means you're getting top-tier steaks, roasts, and poultry that haven't been sitting in plastic trays for days. But what really sets them apart? They specialize in dry-aged beef, a rarity in supermarket chains. If you've never had dry-aged steak before, it's a game changer. The process enhances tenderness and concentrates flavor, creating a restaurant-quality experience right at home. And here's a little-known fact. Because the Fresh Market focuses on quality over mass production, they have shorter supply chains, meaning their meats aren't sitting in transit for days like they do at other supermarkets. That means fresher cuts, better texture, and superior taste every single time. Want to get the best bang for your buck? Here's a pro tip. The Fresh Market has weekly butcher specials offering significant discounts on premium meats. If you plan ahead and check their promotions, you can score high-end cuts for prices lower than what you'd pay at many grocery chains. And if you thought the Fresh Market was the gold standard, wait until you hear about our final pick. A store that has built a cult-like following for its unbeatable quality, customer service, and commitment to freshness. If you've been following along, you already know that the best supermarkets for meat aren't just about price. They're about quality, freshness, and trust. Wegmans isn't just another grocery chain. It's a prime example of how supermarkets can dictate quality, sourcing, and even what choices you have as a shopper. Most people assume that all supermarket meat goes through the same process, but here's what they don't realize. Wegmans has one of the most rigorous sourcing and quality control systems in the industry. Unlike stores that rely on mass-produced, factory-farmed meats, Wegmans partners directly with family-run farms, ensuring that their products are not only USDA Prime and Choice, but also raised without antibiotics or growth hormones. This kind of selective sourcing is rare in the grocery world, and it gives Wegmans an unmatched level of influence over the kind of meat their customers have access to. And here's where the corporate control factor comes in. Unlike many other supermarkets that push prepackaged, mass-processed meat, Wegmans is one of the few chains that still prioritizes in-house butchers. This means they decide exactly what cuts are available, how they're trimmed, and how they're priced. If you've ever shopped somewhere else and wondered why you can't find certain high-quality cuts anymore, it's because many grocery chains are streamlining their meat sections to push cheaper factory-farmed options. But Wegmans does the opposite. They train full-service butchers to prepare custom cuts, offer expert recommendations, and ensure that what ends up in your cart is actually worth your money. And let's talk about freshness, because this is where corporate supply chains truly shape your choices as a consumer. Wegmans' supply chain is designed to move faster than most national grocery chains, meaning their meats spend less time sitting in transit or in cold storage. That might not sound like a big deal at first, but think about it. Less time in storage means fewer preservatives, better texture, and better taste. And this is exactly the kind of quality control that big supermarket chains are cutting corners on. So if you've ever wondered why some grocery store meats seem flavorless, rubbery, or just not as good as they used to be, it's because major corporations are controlling more than just what you see on the shelf. They're controlling how long it sits before it even gets there. Wegmans, on the other hand, proves that with the right sourcing and supply chain priorities, supermarkets don't have to sacrifice quality. So here's the real question. If Wegmans can do it, why aren't the other big grocery chains following their lead? That's something to think about the next time you walk into a store and find yourself questioning the quality of what's in your cart. Before you go, let's quickly recap the biggest takeaways from today's list. We expose the 6 worst supermarkets for buying meat, places where quality, freshness, and sourcing are major concerns. Whether it's questionable packaging at BJ's, inconsistent stock at Giant, or lack of transparency at Safeway, these are the places where you need to be extra cautious. But on the flip side, we also revealed the 6 best supermarkets that truly prioritize quality. Publix, Harris Teeter, King Kullen, Weaver Street Market, The Fresh Market, and of course Wegmans, the gold standard for fresh, high-quality meats. If you're serious about getting the best cuts at the best prices, these are the stores you'll want to stick with. Now don't panic, but do act smart. If you're shopping at one of the better stores, take advantage of their in-house butchers and weekly deals. And if you're stuck with a lower quality supermarket, be extra mindful of expiration dates, inspect your meat closely, and consider freezing it right away to preserve freshness. Small changes in where you shop can make a huge difference, not just in taste, but in how long your food lasts and the value you're getting for your money. If you found this helpful, hit that like button and subscribe. I spent hours digging through supply chain reports, industry data, and customer reviews so you don't have to. And trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Next week, I'm breaking down a major shift in the grocery industry that could impact everything from pricing to availability. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't get blindsided by what's coming. Finally, let's make this a conversation. Have you noticed any of these issues at your local grocery stores? Are there other supermarkets where you've had great or terrible experiences buying meat? Drop a comment below and let's help each other stay ahead of the curve. The best way to prepare is to stay informed, and in this community, we make sure no one gets left behind.